Hello, 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 hello. Beautiful day to you. I'm feeling really inspired right now to talk about our relationships with our mothers. And I know that this can be a very difficult subject at times for people to navigate because no one has the same relationship with their mother as other people. Like everybody's relationship with their mother is highly unique to them and to their mother, right? And so we cannot know what those relationships were. However, sometimes we have the opportunity to be raised by maybe a mother who was just learning herself how to navigate the world. And maybe she too was very young when she became a mother. And, there are so many things that we can't know. So today I wanted to kind of just kind of tune into the mother spirit. And I just wanted to share a little bit of my own personal story, just so that you can kind of get an idea of where I'm coming from. So I was the firstborn of my mothers, and I was born a little over a month after she had turned 20 years old. So my mother was very young when she conceived me, and very young to becoming a first time mother. And my mother was a highly intelligent woman. She, as far as her studies went, she had skipped grades and went to college early, and um, really was a genius. She was brilliant, and I'm pretty sure that her father had hopes for her future, and you know, her getting pregnant at that like a time in her life when so many things, opportunities could be coming her way, and continuing her education, and really using that brilliant mind of hers. She actually is a Mensa member. She's a card carrying, so she has a really high IQ. So just brilliant, 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 brilliant. And I showed up to add to her experience. And I don't know. I look back on it, and when I was younger and I was growing up, I didn't understand what was going on, right? And so we make up stories about ourselves, or about the people that are caring for us, or about the world as a whole. We make up these stories, and we're just little people, and we don't really know any better. And so my mother, she really struggled, and I really didn't understand it because I was always on the receiving end of my experience of being her daughter at different phases in my life. When we were very little, we didn't even live with her. We lived with a woman in a trailer park, my sister and my brother and I. And I remember those days. I remember the dachshund Aloha, and I remember Bertha with her red hair and her glasses and her fly swatter. If you got water on the floor in the bathroom, she would swat you with the fly swatter. Oh, in any case, you know, you know. Um, so I have very in and out experiences with my mom. I didn't live with my mom a lot of the time. I was kind of moved around a lot. I lived with my aunt for a while, and I lived in other places for a while, and I had this really um, this real feeling like I didn't really belong to anybody, and I really blamed my mother for many years. I blamed my mom, that because she didn't give me what I needed when I was a little person. Now I'm this, I'm all messed up, and and I have to heal, and it's all your fault, and I have these feelings, and all the things. And I was really angry with my mom for a good part of my 20s and 30s. I was very angry at my mother, and I kind of like, this is when I really wasn't spiritually awake. I kind of blamed her for everything, and whatever was going wrong in my life, it was all my mom's fault, because she just did such a terrible job of raising me. Right? She didn't give me the things that I needed. And if I'd felt more of this or done more of that, or so so my relationship with my mother was always very strained. And I would say there were times, when it was really like awesome and wonderful and we did amazing things, but many of the times, she was struggling. She was struggling being a single mom. She was struggling of how to provide for her household. My mother was not good when it came to choosing men. My sister and my brother were from another man. And I remember him being my dad, and his name was Jim. And I loved Jim. Jim was amazing. I loved Jim. I don't know what happened in my mother's relationship with Jim. I just know that one day we were gone. We were gone. We were leaving my sister and my brother behind, and everything that I knew, and traveling off on a new adventure, right? And so many things, about the mother wound and how I carried that for many years, and I used that as an excuse for why my life wasn't working, or what was wrong, with me or in my life. And I had been involved in personal development, and I was always, because I always thought that there was something wrong with me. I did a lot of personal development, right? I did a lot of it, and because I always thought that there was something broken that needed to be fixed. So I was looking for the solution that was going to help me fix me, right? And so I would do all of these personal development courses, and I would learn all these things, and I remember when we were learning about taking responsibility, like you're 100% responsible for your life. And I was like, whoa, that's a new concept for me. How is that even so that I could be 100% responsible for my life? Well, it's absolutely true. You are. Well, depending on how you like view your life's trajectory, or what you believe, to be true for you. Um, when do you believe that your soul exists, or, within the timeline of coming to this planet, do you think there was a time before you actually emerged on the scene that you were aware, or that you were, that you had some intention around this lifetime pre-birth, right? We don't know, but I like to play in these realms and these ideas of how it is, that some people say that we choose our parents. Well, then if that's true, then it is 100% your responsibility to choose the parent that you want, right? Maybe we choose our parents. Maybe we choose our parents for a specific reason, because they're here to teach us something. They're here to teach us stamina and strength and resilience and empowerment. Maybe I don't know if we figure all that stuff out before we come, or if we make a plan for our life before we come into this body, and attempt to fulfill the vision or the mission that's been inscribed on our on our birthstone. So so it's just so interesting. So in this whole thing of like taking responsibility for my own life, we did these exercises. And one of the exercises that we did was all around all around our parents. And what's also very interesting, and I'd like for you to know this too, is that I did not know my father. I didn't know my dad. So my mother wouldn't speak of him. I don't know whatever happened to them. She's never ever spoken about him. I'm 63 years old, and I'm just now finding out that he was present for my first year of my life, right? So he was there, and he actually did hold me, but I never knew that until now. So my mother didn't want to talk about it, and made it very clear, and I didn't press. I didn't push for some sort of information. I just accepted the fact that it was the way that it was. Um, and so I really didn't have a lot. I really didn't know a lot about my dad, but I did have there was some trauma around my father not being with me, not being there to protect me as I was growing up, not being there to, be my dad, right? And because of that, there were things that happened that, if my father had been in my life, they wouldn't have happened. But this exercise gave me the beautiful opportunity to be with my mother and my father in a whole new way. And maybe some of you have already heard me talk about this, but it's that way of being where we were asked to visualize our mother in a favorite photograph. And so we see this favorite photograph in our mind, and we're asked to go ahead and assume the position of the photo. So if she was standing or sitting or leaning in or smiling or whatever it was that she was doing in the photo, you were to model, right? So I was modeling my mother in this photo that's just an icon in my mind of my mother, how I view her. I didn't even know that she was 30 years old when this photo was taken, but I remember this photo, and I remember how beautiful she is in it. Then the questions start coming, is like, who is she? What are her dreams? What are her aspirations? What is it? What is her deepest desires? What does she want for her life right now? What are her challenges? What makes her heart sing? What does she love? All these questions of like looking at my mother and asking about this time, like, what were her hopes and aspirations? What was she dreaming of? And, I started looking at her and wondering, asking these questions and wondering, wow, what did she really want? What were her biggest fears? What kept her up at night? And I started thinking back into that time, and it really started to give me a new appreciation for my mother. I really began to see her in a different way, like, what was she hurting? Where was she hurting? Where was her pain? Where were the places in her own being where her needs weren't met? Who's loving her right now? You know, all these things. And I got to look at my mother and just kind of inquire about, who is she? How does she experience her day? What are the things that bring her the most joy? What are the things that are breaking her heart? And it allowed me to see my mother in a whole new way. I was able to have deep compassion for my mom. And I was thinking about her relationships. What are her relationships like with her own mother? And how has that informed her mothering? What are her relationships like with her sisters, her siblings, her partner, her father? How does she feel about herself? So it was such a deeply sacred moment, to see my mother in a new way. And I also did the exercise with my father. Even with the little that I knew of him at that time, I did the exercise with my father, and I was able to heal within my own being aspects of me that needed to be healed, in order for me to grow past this place and into a deeper level of understanding and presence. And realizing too that I can change the relationship just myself. I don't know if my father is alive in physical form or if he's crossed over. But it doesn't matter, because I can transform my relationship with him just by myself. He doesn't need to be here. He doesn't need to be a witness to it. It's something for me to do for myself and for my father. It's something for me to do for myself and for my mother. So the days of being at war with my mother are over, and they've been over for quite some time now. And now my heart is just filled with deep compassion and love for her. And yes, it can be challenging at times, because she still has some rough edges, right? And she kind of likes to poke you sometimes, and it doesn't feel good. But now I know where that comes from, And now I understand it in a deeper way, and I don't take it personally. I respond with compassion and with love for my mother. And I'm thankful for all of the trials and tribulations that she lived through, and all of the scary nights and the uncertain dawns of what was next and where would we be next. And as an adult, when I look back on my life as a child, I can understand why she was so stressed and why it was difficult for her, because she didn't have like a conventional job. She was an entertainer. She had a Hawaiian floor show. And so there were dancers and musicians, and we traveled all over, and she didn't just go to work and punch a time clock. She had to create something and present it and find an adoring public that would receive her. And she was constantly making sure that we were fed and that she was working and that, her show was good. And so she was an entrepreneur. She was a very powerful woman, and she's my mom, and I love her. I'm going to talk to her today because it's Mother's Day. And I'm going to talk to her, and I think that's why this subject is really just so fresh on my heart right now, is that the mother wound is real, and a lot of people have it. I don't want to just say women, a lot of men too, because our unhealed parents were doing the best that they could. My mother did the best that she could with what she knew. She didn't know any better, because if she knew better, she would have done better. She would have, Hey, Joe. Hey, Joe. Hey, Lisa. So good to have you here. Yeah. And so, I'm hoping that in this sharing, that if you have a wounded relationship with your own mother or father, that you might seek out ways in which you can soften your heart to them and love them and drop into compassion for them. And, nothing about them has to change, just it's not about that. It's not about getting them to change. It's about you experiencing a change within your own being and allowing that to be the change. And that's enough. That's enough. That's enough. If you move into a heart of compassion, then that's enough. If you are responding in unconditional love, that's enough. And that in itself will bring the healing. Will bring the healing. So, yeah. So see your mother in a whole new way. Look at a photograph of her when you were 10 years old, or sometime in your past. Take a look at a photograph of her when she was young and vibrant and beautiful, and ask yourself some questions and see what comes up for you. Right? And my hope, my prayer is that a deep love and compassion for your mother will emerge if it's not already there. And that you will see your mother in a whole new way, and you will, I bow to my mother's suffering now. I really do. I bow to her. And what a warrior she was, too. She was so brave and so courageous, and And it was a very difficult time for her, very difficult. You know, and the older that I get and the more that I see the dynamics of the family with her father and her mother and her sisters and brother, you know, I can see so much more into it now, you know, and so as we're looking at these things, you know, we have the opportunity to be able to bring healing to those places in our family lineage, you know, by only responding with love and compassion. And it's hard sometimes, you know. Um, our our blood relatives sometimes have caused for us the most trauma, you know. So there's that, right? And how is it that we can return to love? How is it that we can activate within us our own deep compassion and unconditional love for our beautiful family, our ohana, who may have had a difficult time, a rough time, and it kind of nicked them up a little bit. And so they're a little kind of crabby or whatever you want to say, cantankerous or edgy or whatever it is. I know that love is the healer. I know that love is the answer. And so, you know, if you've got a challenging relationship in your parents in any way, and you activate some of these suggestions that I've given today, come back and write on this video and share your story with me, or find some way to share it with me, because I would love to hear it. Because when I changed my inner landscape and I changed how I looked at my mother, it changed everything. It really did. It changed everything. And our relationship has gotten so deep and so sweet and so tender and so beautiful, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. I wouldn't. And I learned a lot. I learned a lot, so I'm grateful. All right. All right. So love your mama. Allow yourself to love the innocence of your mom, you know, her tenderness, because it's there, you know, but sometimes life gets really hard, and it takes away our joy. It's so sad. So just promise me it won't ever happen to you. You won't let it take away your joy. You'll still stay happy on the inside, right? And just know that love is the answer. Well, you have a wonderful, wonderful day, and finish enjoying the rest of your day. And then in my next video that I'm going to share, I've got some really exciting news. I'm going to be learning a lot about women and lifestyle and how we can activate our body to live to its highest expression of divine wholeness that's possible, right? And so I'll be sharing with you some more of that. So we're going to start talking a lot about health and wellness and eating and all the things that are so important for us to live a happy and healthy life, right? And we need that so that we can deliver the gifts that we've been given, that have been meant to be given in the world today. Okay? So I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you, Joe. Yeah. Thank you so much for loving and supporting me. And yeah, I'll have some more conversations about that. I'm actually going to visit my mother next Tuesday, and I'll be with her for 3 weeks. So maybe I'll tune in and we'll do a little video with my mom. All right. I love you guys. Be loved, beloved. Until we meet again. Hi, Pamela. Aloha.